Okay, sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. It's 5 p.m. on the dot, and we are going to commence as the custom is. My name is Jessica Ochode Daniel. I will be your moderator for today. And today we'll be treating the course Gender and Governance, Gender and Governance by Aishatu Ella John. I don't know if she's in the room already, so that I can read her profile. But meanwhile, please let your colleagues know that class has commenced, and attendance will be taken earlier on in the class, so they don't want to miss out on that. Okay. I will just proceed with the profile. I'd like to read a short profile on our
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, please make Adia consult.
Ma?
Please make AJ consults. AJ consults.
Okay. Okay. She's on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's her. I've done that. Okay, so we can proceed effectively now. I would like to read a short profile on our facilitator for today. Aishatu Ella John is a policy and advocacy strategist and community development worker. Aishatu has years of experience in community project implementation. She's interested in building a gender-smart population, improving participation of young women in governance in Nigeria through capacity building and partnership development. She is also a child development champion. Wow. Her years of experience spans through different developmental sectors, including public health, child development, gender, policy climate change across gender and governance today. And without more talk, Mrs. Aishatu Ella John. You're welcome. Please over to
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So it's wonderful to be back here again. I'm sorry I can't put on my camera. I've had power challenges for a few days. So I'm using my phone for hotspots, and that limits my ability to use my internet a lot. So I'm happy to be back here. I don't know who has my presentation, so we can get right into it.
Okay, give me a minute, ma. I'll bring it up now.
Okay, thank you. So before the presentation comes up, there's something I like to do. There's a small quiz I like to do before each meeting starts. We'll use the chat box. So fastest finger first, I have 1,000 Naira data to go for anybody who can get my question right. So fastest finger first. So listen attentively to my question. Which state of modern day Nigeria had the most female monarchs, female monarch in pre-colonial times? So which state of present day Nigeria had the most female monarchs in pre-colonial times? Fastest finger first. I have an extra 500 for anybody who can give me the actual number of, I'm seeing some questions pop up. Keep them coming. And some responses to pop-ups, keep them coming. I have an extra 500 airtime for any state, any Anybody who mentions the actual number of monarchs in that from that state. Okay, so I'm getting some very interesting answers. I'll wait a little bit. By 5:07 or 5:08, I'll close the quiz and I'll declare my winner. How is my presentation coming up? Or should I project from my own end? Okay. Lisa has started sharing screen.
Can you see it now?
Yes, I can. Thank you. But I think it's a little small. I don't know why it is that small. Maybe I may have to open mine. Okay. Okay. So 1 more minute to go. I'll close my quiz. Let me see if I can get a better version of this, Lisa. Okay. And Lisa, can you stop sharing so that I can attempt to share mine?
All right.
Okay. So I think the quiz is closed. I can see Isaac did some quick Google search here. The right answer is Christina, as Isaac said. Thanks to Google. I'm sure he found that out on Google because it's not normally information one will have. But he didn't give us the number of the he didn't give us the number, even though this also serves. Okay, so this I think, can everybody see my full screen? Is this better?
Yes, ma'am.
Or is it the same?
Okay, it's the same.
It's the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
But it's quite legible.
okay. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let me just go with my slideshow. Okay. So this is a class. It's not one of, I know a lot of people, once they hear gender, they are a little edgy. They believe it's one of those courses where we come and fight and we say, give us this, give us that. No, this is a course to just walk us through the participation of women in politics and to understand that women have participated in politics since pre-colonial Nigeria. And in fact, it was during the colonial period that we had women take a back step due to some of the laws and some of the influences that we had. So women have always participated in governance. Women are not asking or demanding for roles in governance. Women just want to participate in governing themselves because women and men are part of the society. So both genders, because we are almost the same in population, should be able to bring up laws and be able to be part of their own self-governance. And this has been done since pre-colonial Nigeria. So congratulations, Isaac, for getting our answer. As we go through the presentation, you will know the number of women monarchs that we had from Katsina State. So please share your preferred network and your number to the coordinator so that I can get it and credit you after the class. Okay. Like I said, women in Nigeria, as far back as the pre-colonial times, have always held governing positions. However, the population of women who live, vote, and pay taxes in Nigeria is grossly unequal to the number of women in decision-making and governance positions. So if I work somewhere, I pay taxes, I live somewhere, I participate, I should be able to be a part of the governance. I should be able to make decisions on how my taxes will be affected, how my work will be affected, how my education will be affected, and generally everything, how policies that affect me should be done, because I'm part of that society and I live and I work and I exist there. So the definition of gender, like we know, we have, these are just characteristics of men, women, girls, and boys that are socially constructed. This includes norms, behavior, roles associated with being a woman, man, girl, or boy, as well as relationship with others. If we move to other societies, we want to believe that there's more than the male and female gender. We have a long list of genders that they have, they are now telling us that this is acceptable. We even have those that say they do not conform to any gender norms. But here in Nigeria, we still have the male and the female gender. So governance is a pattern of rules and practices of governing. The study of governance generally approaches power as distinct from or exceeding the decentralized authority of the modern state. Okay, so in modern day Nigeria, these are some of the traditional leaders we have. I know that some of you will be surprised to know that we have actual female monarchs in Nigeria right now, but we have a lot of female monarchs in Nigeria, and these are just some. We have Her Royal Majesty Moyinoluwa Olubumifalowo. She's the regent. She was elected regent of Ibufe in Ife Dora local government of Ondo State in 2019, and she's supposed to be the reign as king until the kingmaker selects a new king to rule over the affairs of the community. And you find out that most of them are actually quite young. So we also have Her Royal Majesty Taiwo Agbona. She was also crowned in 2017, temporarily to take the throne of her ancestors until they choose a male kingmaker. You can see the whole, always until they choose a male kingmaker. So due to the fact that she's the first child of the late king. So she was crowned in 2017, and she's a graduate of Achievers University in Owo, Ondo State, where she studied medical laboratory science. So we can see that in modern day Nigeria, we have a lot of female monarchs from Ondo State. Then we also have Her Royal Majesty Tinude Ajegu Yegbe. I hope I know that I didn't get that right, so please forgive me, people from Ondo State. She also served graduated in 2018 and had her NYC in 2019. So you see the trend, they're mostly very young monarchs that we have. So it's not a thing for the elderly and old women who then we have late, she's present, sorry, this should have been updated. She was the Omo of Anomia, Martha Donku, and she was a brilliant media practitioner. She lived for years in England and US, and she returned to Nigeria to be consulted for the late Oba of Benin. She was crowned about 2004, and she died sadly in 2014. So we can see that we have a history of female monarchs. So our traditional systems, as some may want to tell you, do not support women in governance. But you can see that that is a very, very wrong perception and a myth that we hope that as you go towards your journey on governance, you are able to demystify. Okay. So it is not something that is strange to any of us that we have very, very low participation in both elective and appointed positions. This is a growing concern to many Nigerians. However, NGOs and non-governmental organizations have made efforts to increase the level of female participation in politics. This is in line with the Beijing conference that was held in 1995. I think I still have my figures right. And Nigeria was a signatory to the recommendations of this conference, and that gave birth to our national gender policy. The national gender policy recommended 35% affirmative action and sought for a more inclusive participation of women and representation of women in both elective and appointed positions. But that has not been achieved anytime in Nigeria. So the highest, I think the highest we went at one point was 11%. I'll check my data to clarify between Obasanjo and Jonathan. And but the average we have maintained is 6.7%. This is far below the global average of 22.5%. So we can see that even globally, they are struggling to meet that 35%. But we can see a lot of South American countries right now are pushing forward women prime ministers and women presidents to be in position of leadership. And in America, even though some people may disagree with the politics, there's the possibility of seeing a first female president for the first time. And after how many years of democracy, America finally had a female vice president in 2020. So even for America, after having democracy for over 400 years, it took them over 400 years to have a female vice president. And we don't know if in 2024 or 2025, we are going to see a female president in America. Okay, so this was where my question came from. So this is pre-colonial Nigeria. And these are some of the female monarchs that we had in pre-colonial Nigeria. And you can see, I'm sure a lot of you were very shocked that Katsina Emirate had the highest number of female monarchs. Katsina led by 8, having over 8 queens. Oyo Empire had about 4 female monarchs, and other empires also had their numbers. So we can see the names of the queens here. Queen Amina of Zazzau, that one is very popular. Everybody will probably guess Kaduna because everybody just knows Queen Amina of Zazzau from history books. But we had the Ora Emirate especially. We had so many female monarchs coming out of the Ora. We don't know what happened then. Unfortunately, our historians did a very terrible job of keeping our history. If not, we would have understood why the Ora in particular had so many female monarchs, and why, how we went from having so many female monarchs from Daura and Katsina to now having that state struggle so much with female education. But we are hoping that we are able to learn someday why this happened and why we are unaware, because a lot of us here are unaware of this. Or if you are aware, just type in the chat box that you have always been aware, and this is not coming to you as a surprise, because even to me, till I took the class, it was a surprise to me. I would have never guessed Katsina, knowing what I know there, because I've worked in Katsina. So you can see the whole range of female monarchs from the Ora, Katsina Emirate. Something was going on there, and I hope that one day we'll find out. Then we also have some from Ondo. We also had the woman who was did you have Oni of Ife? Oni of Ife? Yes, we had the woman who was Oni of Ife. We had 2 women, in fact, 4 women who were alive in Oyo, which we know that these are first-class monarchs, and not anyhow monarchs. Then from the south, I think we had only one, who was Queen Kanbasa of Boni LGA of Rivers State, what we now know as Rivers State. Then Ondo had 2 female monarchs, while of course Katsina had the bulk of it. But we never even hear about any of these Katsina queens. We only hear mostly about Queen Amina of Zauzau. Okay. So colonialism really affected Nigerian women. Apart from colonialism, the religious incursions also affected the roles of women in politics, because you can see from our pre-colonial times that we already had systems where women could be in these very, very revered positions. But somewhere along the line, which is lost in history, these positions became exclusively for men. We don't know why, we don't know how this happened. But people speculate that this could have been the influence of religion and also colonialism, because when people come and they colonize you, or when there was this religious incursions, they brought their own way of beliefs and way of life and said, no, this is not allowed, this is allowed. and people who had been colonized just had to fall in line. And for religion, a lot of religions believe that women should not be in certain positions of leadership. So we speculate, because history books are not clear on this, that these were some of the things that affected and took women back. Would I say back? Because in history, we're already in positions of leadership. But now we are in positions where we are struggling to have just the basics. Because I'm seeing that sometimes even in political parties, men are now contesting for the position of women leader. So colonialism affected Nigerian women, and a lot of them were actually denied their franchise. So women, after when colonialism came, before colonialism, there was a monarchical system where women were part of. But when colonialism came, it became a system that, oh, you had to vote. And this vote was only given to men and not women. So women from the southern part of Nigeria were the first to stand up against this method of voting, to say, no, women have to vote. If I'm paying taxes or if I'm a part of the society, I have to vote. And we know that while what led to the About Women's Riot was that women were asked to do some of these things, we were asked to pay taxes, do a lot of activities that their male counterparts were doing, but women are not given the same rights as their male counterparts. So for southern Nigeria, 3 women were appointed into the House of Chiefs. We have Chief Olufumi Ransom Kuti, and we have Chief Mrs. Margaret Ekpo and Janet Maloku. So these were both southeastern chiefs, while Olufumi Ransom Kuti was from the southwest. The women wings of political parties possessed very little function till now and relevance, because all we know is that, during election, women leader come and gather women. They'll pack women from the market, pack women from everywhere, come and dance, come and shout, come and distribute, and that is where it ends. So during this period, the post-colonial period, women began to play an active role. That is mostly in the south, and the southwest, and the southeast. But in the northern part of Nigeria, we had a very, very strong female politician, Hajia Gambo Sawaba, who was one of the first people that started fighting for the right of women in the north to vote. So we can see that even when the women in the south had fought for and gotten their franchise to vote in northern Nigeria, till 1979, women were not allowed to vote and be voted for in the part of the north. So during the post-colonial period, we saw a lot of improvement, because at this point, women from all over Nigeria were allowed to vote. But there's something that this thing does to your psychology. If you have been told that you're not allowed to do something, you have been taught, you have been raised that way, you have been taught, this message has been re-emphasized to you, you get to lose interest in that, because what's the point? Except you want to become, because at that point, I remember when I was growing up, Hajia Gambo Sawaba, in the north, they used to refer to her very unsavory terms, even though she was fighting for what was right. But you get to a point, you now say, what's the point? Why should I fight for this? Why should I be interested in this? And that's what happened to a lot of the women in the north, and even women in Nigeria generally. So during the post-colonial and democracy period, we saw improved participation of women in politics. Women were not only appointed into the House, were not only elected as members of the House of Assembly, and they were also made ministers. So you can see some of the names here. The presentations will be shared with you. The return to democracy in 1999 gave a better hope for women, because President Olusegun Obasanjo has and is still a very, very strong advocate for women in governance. But even at that, he also failed to give the 35% affirmative action for women. So far, since 1999, all 6 presidents and their vices have been males. We have not had a female, even one female vice president. We've had a female speaker who was very, very short-lived. And unfortunately, she was even impeached for something she had not done yet. But we have had speakers and Senate presidents who have done far worse, but have not been impeached because, let me not make it a gender issue, but we all know that because they're male. So the highest number of women in the House of Reps was in 2015 with 26 women, and for the Senate in 2015 with 8 out of 109 senators. So this is even less than 20%, less than 10% of the total number. And this is the best that we have done in women in governance as regarding the National Assembly. Okay, so these were 2 women. I don't know if you can all see my screen. These are 2 women, and I'll please beg the indulgence of our host to help us unmute those who may have questions to responses to this question, because I want this class to be a little bit more interactive. These are 2 women who participated in the 2015 election. So I want people to unmute and tell us about these 2 women if you know them. So if you can, I think you can just raise your hand and the host will unmute you.
Is there anyone? Okay. If
Yeah. I also have a time for participatory. For most participatory. Okay, so we have Daddy Emmanuel. His hands are raised. So please, can you unmute him?
Want to speak? Yes, you can drop a comment.
Okay. Hello, hope you can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'm very much aware of the Professor Nnenna Oti, the returning officer during the concluded the 2023 general election that ushered in one of the best performing governor currently in Nigeria. I think there was a story surrounding her act of courage when she was almost forced to do otherwise, but she stood her ground and declared Alex Oti the winner of the Abia State election. I think that is little much I know about her.
Okay, so
And then the other lady, I think she contested for an election, the Adamawa State and governorship election, and she was declared the winner, but later overturned by INEC. No, is it by the court or something? But she was actually declared winner, and I celebrated her on my timeline to that period. But then the election was later seems to be marred with irregularities and all of that. So I think that is the little I know about them.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think Balogun Abubakar is here. So where are the women now? Why are we not participating? We are talking of women participating.
Hello, ma. Good evening, ma.
Yes, good evening, Balogun.
Yes, ma. I just want to talk on Aisha Binari. She was a former senator of the Nigerian. She was a senator from 2019 to 2023, and she was the gubernatorial candidate of APC in the Adamawa, what's it called, governorship election. And she's also an entrepreneur. So those are the things I know about her.
Oh, Balogun, these are the things Google told you about her, but these are the things you know about her.
No, what I know about her.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so these are very good answers. So a lot has been said for Professor Oti. He was a returning officer, and a lot of states had the same challenge. But she stood her ground and insisted that what the people voted for must count. And there was a lot of pressure on her, but she stood her ground and she made history as the one who had one of the freest and fairest elections that Abia State has ever had since inception. For Aisha Binari, what she and her friend, would I say friends, and her I'm trying to find a sensible word to use that, did with that Adamawa State election was basically a civilian coup. And it was one of the most shocking things to ever witness in Nigeria. So the election happened, and they saw that they were probably going to lose. So they had the INEC, it wasn't the commissioner, I can't remember who it was exactly, go and just sit down and scribble results on a paper, went in front of the media and came to declare the results. This is something that I know that in Nigeria there's a lot of anyhowness, at least a lot of things can happen, but at least people even put the effort into rigging an election. But in this case, there was no effort, there was nothing. They just went, sat down, wrote their results on a paper and decided to announce it. Because normally people, the returning officers come from their various local governments. They have the collated results. They will sit down, they will list it out. They will now collate it and add it. That's the returning officer will now collate it and add it, which was the job of Professor Ott in Abia State. But in this case, it wasn't even the returning officer. It was the INEC commissioner. And all of us were looking until a lot of us were looking and we're like, what is happening? Is this really happening? Is this a dream? Is this a joke? And they sat down and they thought that this was a good idea to do, or something to do, and just decide and write on the paper who the winner is and tell the other people to go to court. But thankfully, I think reason prevailed. I don't know how that happened because she was from the ruling party. Reason prevailed. And those who did that action were arrested. And she, on her own, after she was declared, I'm putting declared in air quotes, went to give an acceptance speech. So I'm giving this in perspective to show that women participate in governance and the process of politics and can either be good or bad. So we are not saying that women must participate because women are all good and women will all be sinful, but because both men and women are inherently good or bad. So I know that some people may argue that, oh, the few women that have gotten into positions, they have been very bad, they have been worse than the men. People are inherently good or bad. But the fairness that is being asked for is that if a huge percentage of the population is participating, is living in a society, paying taxes, being law-abiding, voting in elections, then they should also have the opportunity or the advantage to also be able to be in a position to govern themselves and to make decisions that matter and affect them. Okay, so what are political parties doing to encourage women to participate in governance? So for APC says they have 50% of nomination funds for women. PDP says they have 50% of nomination funds for women. And Labour Party says they have expression of interest forms free for women. I'm listing only these three parties because they had they scored the highest in the last election. So I think they have the majority in both the National Assembly as in comparison to other parties. I'm not saying any other parties are smaller or not as important as these parties, but I'm just listing the first three. Okay. Let me go back. Okay. So let's have a little bit of conversation before we list the challenges and the opportunities for women in politics. So from your own understanding, what do you think there has been some of the challenges with women participating in politics in Nigeria, from your own understanding, and from what you have noticed so far? Raise your hand. We'll ask you to unmute. I can't see any hands up. Oh.
Okay, we have Daddy Manoa.
Okay.
Manuel. You can unmute and ask and comment.
Okay, thank you very much. I think major challenges for women going into politics is the lack of awareness. Apart from this time of social media or electronic media that has exposed people to information about political participation, women generally see politics as something meant or created for men. So the awareness that they are capable and can also fulfill some of the dream of leading the nation is another thing. And then the most one that affects Nigeria, especially, is the cultural inhibitions. Most culture, especially from the north, don't allow women to be active participants in the politics, because there are some culture that actually forbid women from vying for a particular position, and then they will see women coming out as coming for political position as wayward or into something. I don't know. I don't want to use bad words, but the cultural imposition inhibitions are just too many. Because and it's actually a challenge for women, especially women from the northern part of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll address more of your this thing later, but let's move over to Isaac.
Isaac, you can meet and ask and then answer.
Good afternoon. Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good evening.
So I guess one of the challenges that they have is they have the mindset about this. You know, there's something whereby say that the woman is the inferior figure, that the man is always supposed to be the police figure. We have stuff like in every home in Nigeria, I always do that. The man is the head of the house, woman is mostly meant for the kitchen and taking care of the children. So that's really the mindset whereby most women they're not really assessed fit enough or able to carry the mantle of leading not only their family but not going to the state of maybe going into politics or in a leadership position. So me, basically I think is the mindset, not even the cultural aspect of it, because the cultural aspect also plays its own part. But the mindset that believing that I can do this and I can make change, then they'll be able to make the change. So that's one of the challenges I think they are encountering.
Thank you, Isaac. Finally, a woman. Mariam, please, you can unmute and respond. Thank you.
Mariam.
Good evening, ma. Thank you very much. One major thing is stereotyping, and I believe that based on culture, religion, as many people have said, people stereotype women as you don't belong in this space because it's only for males. So that has actually been part of some people. They just don't think women are fit for that position, and that can also go with misogyny. Some people just don't like the idea of women ruling, so that's another thing. And I believe that most of the things are gender bias, so stereotypes and misogyny is what I can say at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you very much, Mariam. So, Daddy Emmanuel, I want to speak to some of the points you made about women, especially women from the north, not being allowed to participate in politics. I don't think that is necessarily correct, because I think the two women that have come very close to being governors of their states were both from the north, Adamawa and Taraba. I think there's an equal, if not more, number of women who have gone to the Senate and the House of Assembly from the north as against the south. So that may be a faulty listen. Yes, but I agree that there's an issue of education, literacy rates, where women in the north are more disadvantaged. But when it comes to actually being in politics and being participatory in politics, I think the women from the North have been able to give a good account of themselves, and they've gotten a lot of support, because even from, I think when Aisha Binari was doing her campaign, some of the nice pictures we saw was were men dressing up as women, just to show that, and these were men from the North, just to show that, we are men, but we support a woman. We are okay with a woman leading us. So we may need to work on some of those conceptions and myths. Okay. So what are some of the challenges that we have? I believe that, yes, this is to blame patriarchy and misogyny, which is going to come below, but I believe that 80% of the challenge we have with women in politics is women having interest in governance and politics. In 2022 or 2021, when the constitutional review was going on, and we tried a lot. We made presentations, we gave suggestions, we pushed to the National Assembly that some of these things, some of the parts of the Constitution that are against women. For example, how many of you know, as women, how many of you know that as a woman, if you marry a citizen of another country, that person cannot gain citizenry through you as a woman? And that is in the Constitution of Nigeria. A lot of women don't know, because we are not simply interested in learning. We have our interest in other things. And yes, I understand that there are other reasons, but the reality is that we are not interested in things that have to do with governance. And even when we try to raise awareness for these things, we say, okay, let women come and make a lot of noise, because when we got information that these were things that were going to be taken out of the constitutional review, we tried to raise awareness, make a lot of noise, but the interest was simply not there. However, if Gossip Blog, I don't know which blog is the reigning Gossip Blog now, drops a post about somebody that the video is sleeping with, you'll find 20 or 30,000 women there in the next 1 hour. But if we go and share a post like this that speaks to the fact that a woman in 2024 cannot give her husband citizenship of Nigeria, you find 3 comments or 5 comments, and a lot. I want to assure you that 90% of these comments will come from men, not even women, because we simply do not have that interest. I don't understand why. We are still trying to break into how to get younger women to be interested in politics. I think we came the closest during Patience Jonathan's period. She had the mentor-mentee program, where older women in politics mentor very, very young women, and I was part of that team, very young women who are trying to go into politics. A lot of the women that we were able to link with these older women have actually gone into politics and are doing very well. So I think that was the closest that we came to trying to break this barrier. But now it has gotten worse. The interest is totally zero. It is totally zero. I don't even know how to when I start to speak about this, it feels like I'm wailing, because it is just painful for me to see that the things that have nothing to do with how you are being ruled, how you are being governed, what is even happening, what is going on around you, the fact that petrol is over 1,000, the fact that you are paying so much for life and air that you do not even have, it has no interest, especially from women. But some useless gists are the ones that piques our interest. Oh, somebody is fighting, somebody is dragging somebody is being called out. And you find women going to sit down their camp and tag all their friends and their relatives. So why can we not have that kind of interest for important things like this? Why can we not have a post where we talk about the fact that a woman cannot give her husband a citizenship, have women go to sit on the post and be tagging their friends, tagging their family members to come and see and understand that this is happening? How do we fight it? How do we stand against it? But we just hands off and leave it for a few women who have decided to be in politics or in governance. And these 3 women, in the National Assembly now, we have 3 women. These 3 women now, or 4 women, how are they supposed to be the ones to stand against all these things that are happening without the backing of other women? Anyway, moving on. Financing. Money is part of politics. So it is beyond. I see that the political parties say that, oh, we do 50% of expression of interest in some. It is beyond that. There's a lot of, I'm not even talking of buying votes. I'm talking of the fact that you have to travel, you have to do social media ads, you have to do media ads, you have to travel, you have to print posters, you have to give your mobilizers. Some of them have to have cars for this period. And these cars have to be fueled. People in the grassroots, you have to build, you have to have your pictures and everywhere in everybody's face. So this things cost money, and the financing for women in politics is a little bit poor. Not a little bit, a lot poor. Cultural and religious barriers, we've spoken about that, and that along with patriarchy. We've spoken a lot about that, yes, because before colonialism and the incursion of religion, religious explorers into Nigeria, we had a better system of governance where women were allowed, where women were participatory and were allowed to succeed their parents in very, very sensitive cultural positions, and even religious wise, because we had our traditional religious beliefs. And patriarchy is a system where we say, okay, this gender is more superior to this gender, and so therefore, because of that, this gender should be the one to rule us. Meeting schedules, a lot of the decisions are made at times when a woman that has children or has a family will not want to be outside having those decisions or making those decisions. So how can we now what are the opportunities that we have and we are working towards? So we have the Nigerian Women Trust Fund. It exists, but a lot of us do not know because we are not interested in politics or all these things. It is, and the women do this thing. You can see how Atiku and Obi have been very, very up and about with what is going on in Nigeria. Every single day, Atiku is writing on Twitter about the issue of fuel, about the issue of this, about the issue of that. Every single week, Obi is moving from one part of Nigeria to the other. But the Nigerian woman that will say she wants to be a president will come up in 2027 or 2026 by November and declare that she wants to be a president. And everybody will now be saying, oh, why won't you support your own woman? Why won't you? But what is the foundation? Who is this woman that is coming now? Why are we supposed to support her? What has she been saying? What has she been doing about the governance? What has she been doing about the policies that have been put in place? What has she been saying? What is her I'm looking for the right word, but what has she done that we can say, oh, this is what this woman has contributed to the whole policies or the whole opposition in the politics that we have been facing? Nothing. You just find that they just stroll in, maybe a few months to the election, pick a form, and they now start playing that, oh, I'm a woman card, women should support me. But that doesn't work like that. You build interest. Then it comes to this is my very sensitive point. This is very dear to me. So how did we get in a lot of you that participated in the 2023 election, and I know that you did that because of peer pressure. The peer pressure method was applied very effectively to the 2023 election. People were now being mocked for not having their PVC card for PVC. And so when the window opened, a lot of young people went to line up to get their PVC. And actually, not only getting their PVC, they actually raised money. They were printing posters. They were having works. They were doing so many things, and they were fully participatory. So I'm still thinking, and we are still working on this. How do we get that kind of interest from younger women to participate, that kind of obedient fever for younger women to now leave all these other things, all these gossip posts, all this back and forth, and fully participate in politics? That's something we are still working on. I've been talking about it for months in this class. I'm still talking about it, and we are still brainstorming on it. And we'll be happy if you're able to give us some more insights to how we can do that, because this is really, really important to us. If we do not have young women who want to really push and participate in this, a lot of us will be in our 50s still singing the same song, singing the same message, and it goes and dies with us, unfortunately. So for religion and cultural bias, we continue, and we have advocated, we advocate, and we continue to advocate to religious organizations and cultural institutions to not to allow women, because it is their right, to reduce some of these their barriers that prevent women from participating in politics. There are some laws there are some religious policies or cultural policies that are not actually cultural or religious. They are just man-made and they are made to inhibit women. So we research, we find those out, and we push for those to be removed from those institutions so that women can freely participate and engage in politics. And the last one is that engaging women as influencers in politics. Like I said, we had a program that was mentor-mentee. We had an older woman in politics and a younger woman who wants to learn how politics is done. And this is how to groom the next generation of women in politics. There are a lot of them now. I know that we started with who have gone very, very far, who have contested offices. Some of them won, some of them did not win. Some of them are now serving in different capacities. But this is how it started. And hopefully, as for the influencers again, we are trying to see how these influencers that get attention of women with some of these things that they post, some of the drama, some of the controversy, can now be interested in politics and also influence younger women to participate positively in politics. So everybody, thank you very much. This is it from my end. I hope you had a fun time with my class. I'm open to any questions or comments. I yield the mic back to the host while I await questions and comments. Thank you. Yep, these hands, are they new hands or old hands?
Thank you so much. These are old hands, or they can be, I don't know. It seemed like the people that commented before.
Okay, so we have new hands.
Okay, we have a new hand now. Yes, ma'am. You can go on, please. Ask a question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Miss Speaker. Thank you very much for this section. I found a lot of things interesting. And so questions you asked that I felt I should give some contribution. But my first comment/question comes with the fact that you talk about women not participating in politics because women are not interested. I just want to cite an example. Till today, we have Toyin Abraham, we have Eniola Badmus. They stood their ground. They said, even if we don't agree, even if people don't agree, they stood their ground and said, oh, this is who we support. And they're not the only people who supported our current president. But today, even to today, they are being bashed up and down. Now, how do you tell another woman to come out where the few women that come out, they know what they support? Women are crushed so easily in Nigeria once they come into politics. Not a place you can survive. Because, as you say, peer pressure is important to women. Women are very communal in nature. We like our community. We like to have our friends. We need to have our society around us. And it can become an isolation. How then can you encourage a woman in such a society to enter into politics when there are so many factors? Even though, you mentioned opportunities, which I took note of. I think it said it mentioned a fund, which I was trying to research. I was trying to Google about it. How then do you encourage?
So before you mute, I want to ask you this question: were there also men who supported the current president that are also going through the same or even worse?
I don't know of any men that are going through this level of.
I can name a lot for you. What's this guy? He's also a comedian. Sheilo. There are a lot of men also who supported the current president, and basically a lot of influencers I know who supported the current president and are going through and are still being dragged, not because of their gender. And I don't want us to now mistake this, that as long as women are interested in politics, they are going to be dragged. This is not it. Not because of their gender, because possibly of what some of them, what they stood for. Because people are now saying, okay, this is what you stood for, this is what you promised us, but this is what we are getting. So can you now come and help us reconcile? And those are valid political conversations. This is not misogyny, it is not being anti-women. It is just basic political conversation. When you promise something, you'll be held accountable. And this is very healthy for politics. Unfortunately, sometimes it spills into bullying, but that is how politics is done. America everywhere. Some of the things that Trump did how many years ago, he's still been held accountable for it now, that he's trying to recontest. some of the things Kamala Harris said or did not say or did not do, she's still being held accountable for it now. So that is politics. When you say or do something or you did not do something, you'll be held accountable for it now. And it has nothing to do with gender. As for the fund I mentioned, that's the Nigerian Women Trust Fund. So you can still Google it. And I can even point you in some directions if you're interested in accessing it. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, well,
I really appreciate that. It helps put my mind into perspective on the issue of women in politics. So I also wanted to make another comment, which is a contribution. You mentioned ways to get women involved in politics. I think something women always participate in. Often we watch a lot of movies and we do a lot of podcasts. If politics can be incorporated or political information knowledge, if a movie can be made about the fact that a woman married a man abroad who is very Nigerian, very immersed in Nigerian culture, but cannot be allowed to perform in Nigeria, I think it starts a discussion. Same thing with podcasts. So just a suggestion I'm going to drop out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is very helpful. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we have a question in the chat box, man. In the chat box.
Okay, so
Matthew Samuel. Okay. Should I go on?
Yeah, okay. So let me see if I can find it. So maybe you can
Matthew
read it.
Samuel.
Yeah, maybe you can read
Okay,
it.
he says, what's the role of civil society organizations in the implementation of 35% women affirmation?
Okay. Okay, yes, I can see it now. Okay. So civil society organizations are just pressure groups. They attend the meetings, they give us the breakdown, they now do advocacy, like I said. When we were pushing for this the pro-women policies to be reviewed in the Constitution, it was from women organizations. When we got the 35% affirmation to be agreed to as a national policy, it was from women organizations. So basically, it has been civil society that have been carrying this on their backs. I'm not saying that all civil society organizations are good because some have gone outside their scope and all that, but for how we have gotten to so far, from the inception of democracy to today, I can assure you that it is mostly from the work of civil society organizations. They have not only done advocacy, they have done works. Like during the constitutional review, women came and left their homes for weeks, stayed in Abuja, were writing, were pushing, were visiting the Senate president, they were assuring us, we were raising money, we were doing all sorts just to ensure that this constitutional review passed, but unfortunately it failed. So civil society have carried this on their back and they're still carrying it on their back till now. Thank you.
Okay, we don't have any more questions for now.
Okay. So thank you very much. I'm still if there are any more questions you may not want to ask, you can reach me through the host or Lisa. And please for Isaac, is Isaac that won the quiz question, please share your number and preferred network so that you can get to me and you can be credited with your data. So thank you, everybody. I'm always happy to be part of this class. This is one of my favorite class. Before now, I used to teach climate change and governance, but it moved to gender and governance. And I'm always happy to be part of this class. I thank you very much for listening and for your participation. I wish you well for the rest of the course.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We really appreciate you for giving us your time. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, Lisa, do you have any announcements before we close the class?
Okay, I think Daddy is raising his hand. I don't know if you want to say something.
Oh, okay. Is our facilitator still around?
Oh, she has left. Okay, Emmanuel, do you have something to say? She has left.
Yes,
or...
yes.
Okay, he has dropped his hand. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jessica. Well done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Class will continue tomorrow, and I hope you're all up and doing concerning your project. You have just next week because the week after next is your graduation. So you all have to submit your projects. Your deadline is 2nd of October. I'm sure you've all been informed. So thank you, everyone. Good night. See you in class tomorrow.